Today I want to share something that completely changed my life. I'm going to tell a story that is both personal and transformative. Maybe you'll relate to it, or maybe not, but I hope that this exchange of ideas can inspire you in some way. I'm talking about the moment when I started focusing on my spirituality and how it made me stop seeking external validation from women, friends, and society in general. So if you feel like you're always seeking approval from others, this story is for you. I'll be straightforward here. For a long time, I was that guy who needed validation. I was always seeking approval from everyone around me. If I was in a group of friends, I wanted to be the funniest one. When I was with women, I wanted to be the most attractive. At work, I wanted to be the most successful, and it was all about being recognized. And you know what? It's exhausting. I was constantly comparing myself, always trying to be someone that, deep down, wasn't really me. I was a version shaped by the expectations of others, not by what I truly wanted to be. That's when I realized something was missing. Because no matter what I achieved, a compliment, attention from a woman, recognition at work, that empty feeling was still there. And I remember exactly the moment I realized this. I was at a party surrounded by people, and I should have felt on top of the world. You know that moment when you're surrounded by people who in theory admire you, but instead of feeling joy, I felt disconnected. It was then that I realized that even though I was surrounded by external validation, inside I was alone. That's when I started seeking answers. I needed to understand what was missing. And the answer came when I started to look inward, when I started exploring my spirituality. And when I say spirituality, I'm not talking about religion, or going to a specific place, or following rigid dogmas. I'm talking about connecting with myself, and with something greater than myself. Something that gave me purpose and was more real than any praise or approval I could get. In the beginning, it wasn't easy. You know that addiction to likes, compliments, smiles, it was hard to let go of that. But I started with simple things. I took a few minutes of my day to meditate. And at first it seemed silly, I'd close my eyes and, instead of feeling peace, my mind was a mess. But I was persistent because something inside me told me that I needed this connection. Over time, meditation started changing something in me. I began to understand that the answers to my insecurities weren't out there, but within me. And little by little, I became more aware of my own emotions and thoughts. The urge to seek approval from others began to fade. I realized that all that quest for validation was, in fact, an attempt to fill an internal void that only I could fill. I remember a specific experience that marked me. I was on a date, and the conversation wasn't flowing as I expected. Before, this would have made me anxious, thinking I needed to impress, that I needed that person to like me. But in that moment, for the first time, I didn't feel that. I was at peace with myself, not because I was better or worse, but because for the first time I was present. I knew that regardless of how the date went, I was okay. I was already complete. And it was liberating. After that, I started applying this mentality to other areas of my life. With my friends, for example, I stopped trying to be the guy who needed to please everyone. I started being more honest, even vulnerable, and interestingly enough, that made the friendships that truly mattered even stronger. I wasn't playing a role anymore. I wasn't trying to be what others expected. I was being myself. And do you know what happened? The right people started getting closer, and those who were just there out of convenience naturally drifted away. And I was okay with that. Spirituality also taught me to value silence. It seems simple, but learning to be at peace with myself, without needing external stimuli, was one of the greatest gifts I received. Before, I was terrified of being alone. It was as if the silence revealed all the insecurities I was trying to hide. But instead of running away, I started facing it. I started accepting my flaws, my imperfections, and that gave me a strength I had never felt before. I realized that external validation is an illusion. It's never enough, because whenever you get it, you want more. It's an endless cycle. But when you look within and find a point of peace, a place where you feel whole, the need for that validation just disappears. It's not that I stopped wanting to feel valued, but I stopped depending on it to feel good. I found a sense of self-worth that is unshakable, and that came from spirituality. Today, if someone compliments or criticizes me, I can maintain a certain emotional distance. I know my worth doesn't depend on what that person thinks. I'm not perfect. There are days when I still catch myself wanting that approval, but now I have tools to deal with it. I meditate, I reflect, and I remind myself that everything I need is already within me. And I know it might sound cliché, but this journey of looking within, of seeking a spiritual connection is what truly transformed my life. Not only the way I see the world, but also the way I interact with it. Today, I feel free. I don't depend on a yes or a no from someone to feel good. And that's what I wanted to share with you. If you're feeling stuck in this pursuit of external validation, I want you to know there's a way out. There's a path that starts within you. I'm not saying it's easy or that it'll happen overnight, but I guarantee it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many people are around you, if you're not at peace with yourself, you'll always feel alone. So, I invite you to take that first step. It could be meditating, it could be taking a few minutes of the day to sit in silence, to reflect on who you really are behind all the masks you wear to please others. It may seem small, but that's how every big change begins, with a small step in the right direction. The pursuit of spirituality isn't about being perfect, it's about connecting with your truth, accepting yourself as you are, and understanding that deep down you're already enough. And when you understand that, everything else becomes secondary. The validation of others no longer carries as much weight, and you start living in a much lighter, much more authentic way. So if this story resonated with you, if you're also tired of living for others' approval, I encourage you to look within, because in the end, the peace you're seeking can only be found there within you.